Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alex Lazarus. I am a trader here at thewatchbox.com. Today, I'm going to be answering some of your questions. So, why do watch nerds hate Rolex? They're amazing and iconic watches. Well, guys, to put this as bluntly as possible, haters are going to hate. Sadly, Rolex is synonymous with quality, longevity, but also it does have a connotation as well as a stigma that the typical Rolex owner, such as myself right here, is gonna be a little bit on the yuppier side. Now, one needs to consider that they have had a very, very simple recipe over the course of the past 70 years, or at least from their infancy in 1905. They have not deviated that far from the path with their models, such as the Oyster Perpetual, your Datejust, your Day-Date, or the iconic Submariner, which released in 1953, which essentially gave us all the dive watch category. So to answer your question a little bit more in depth and to peel back the layers of that onion a little bit more, you're gonna have some guys that jumped into this pretty recently, which can't get in line, even put their name on a list for a no-date sub-date, Explorer 1, Explorer 2, GMT, you name it. These guys are getting pretty frustrated. They want to stick in their own lane. They want to reach outside the box. They want to get into something else like maybe a Breitling, Omega, JLC. So that in turn is going to leave a lot of true watch enthusiasts, like such as ourselves here, that want to get in the watch, that have the money to do it, but don't want to pay the aftermarket price or secondary market pricing on the watch. Again, it's one of those things that predominantly when you think and you hear of somebody that is a Rolex owner, you tend to lob them into a category, just for example, like a certain type of driver of a car that doesn't use a turn signal. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Love BMW. But the thing is that Rolex makes the highest quality, the best and most reliable timepiece out there. And if you don't own one, in turn, it's going to make you a little bit envious of other Rolex owners. Not to say that there's absolutely anything wrong with looking outside the box and buying something else that you like, but the majority of that animosity is going to be stemming from somebody that doesn't have the ability to get their hands on the watch. So I'm looking at getting a Datejust for a daily, fluted bezel or non-fluted bezel. So that's gonna be a really, really tough one. And I say that because on Rolex's 40th anniversary in 1945, they brought out the Datejust. That watch, obviously, it had the complication where you can change the date. It's gonna switch over. Additionally, it did have a coin edge or a fluted style bezel. Now, depending on the reference, if it's a 4-digit or a 5-digit or a 6-digit reference, your 5 digits are essentially going to be your 16233, 16234 references. This is the watch that you're gonna be accustomed to seeing Paul Newman wearing in The Color of Money. You're gonna see somebody like Michael Douglas wearing that watch in Wall Street. Or for anybody else around here, that's gonna be the watch that my father had when I was growing up. That's a great quintessential timepiece, but the bezel itself, fluted, is the quintessential or prototypical bezel. So if you're gonna be buying this watch here, and depending on whether or not you're looking at a Datejust 41, and we can use that for example, you need to think to yourself that there is going to be a substantial difference in pricing between $73.50 to $93.50 on both watches compared with a smooth bezel or a white gold bezel. Ultimately, guys, it's really gonna come down to what you like the most. What do you want to wear the most? For what I would say to that is that the Datejust, in my personal opinion, has to have a fluted bezel. Doesn't need to be two-tone. Thank God, Rolex in 2017 gave us the ability to have a full stainless and white gold setup. So it's not your grandfather's and it's not my dad's watch anymore. It's something that's a little bit more youthful. It's gonna be a little bit more fun, and it's gonna be for people in our generation, for lack of a better term. However, I will say 126-300s, for just an example, it's a very cool watch. It flies under the radar, it's subtle, but if I was gonna do it, it's gonna have to be a fluted bezel. Best Breitling ever made. Go. All right, well, that's gonna be a tough one because what do we have here? We've got the Chronoliner line, we've got the Chronomat line, we've got the Navitimer, we have the Super Ocean Heritage, we have the Colt, we've got Aerospaces. So Breitling has many, many SKUs. This is a great thing because variety is the spice of life here. If I had to pick my own personal favorite, I have a soft spot for a watch that is called the Navitimer Jupiter, which in my personal opinion kind of resembles a Seiko. It's my inner watch nerd for you there. But if I had to look at something that would be a little bit more on the contemporary side, in 1998, Breitling had a 2-year limited edition release of a Premier Edition. This watch was about 37.5 millimeters, and it had luminescent Breguet style numerals. It was absolutely perfect looking in my personal opinion. That would be my personal favorite Breitling ever made. So which JLC or Jaeger-LeCoultre would you grab from the Watchbox vault if you could as a present? So that's gonna be incredibly difficult for me. I like JLC a lot. I think they have multiple great lines. If I had to narrow this down to 2, because I can't pick one because I love most, if not all, of their watches, I think I would probably go with a classic Reverso, maybe Duo Face. That's a watch that I personally would have no problem wearing a button down in jeans or a t-shirt and shorts. You have the ability to literally give you a night and day at the flip of the watch case. Additionally, you know, it's a great dress watch. That's something that you can dress it up and again, dress it down. On the other side of the equation right there, I really love the Master Compressor Deep Sea. This was a 40.5 millimeter chronograph, super easy to read, super legible. The watch itself harkens back to older JLC references. It's something that it is meant to look like the watch came out of the late 60s, early 70s. In my personal opinion, I think it's a showstopper. That would be my second. Just for fun here, if we had the lob in the third, I would probably pick up a Polaris or maybe a Polaris Chrono. I think that would be a little bit more of a sportier iteration to have in my rotation, but for what it's worth, you know, I'd be Reverso 1, Deep Sea 2, Polaris and 3. I'm craving a minute repeater too. What are some budget or value ones to take a look at? Inexpensive, budget, value, and minute repeater typically are not things that go hand in hand with each other. When I think of minute repeater, I am immediately thinking of a 5016 or maybe a 5216 Patek. These references have a tendency to cost as much, if not more, than some houses. Being said here, if you are looking for an inexpensive minute repeater, you would be able to find an IWC minute repeater somewhere between the $30,000 to $40,000 price range, but the most inexpensive one would actually have to be my latest acquisition, which would be a Breitling Aerospace. This watch actually does have a minute repeater function on it, along with a multitude of other functions on there. But again, in the grand scheme of things, guys, finding a minute repeater on a budget or a value proposition, for lack of a better term, sadly, it's just not gonna be something that's possible. All right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed my time here. If you liked what you saw, please make sure to click the like button below. Ask questions, we want to continue answering them. And if you do have any questions for me, I can be reached at alazarus@wbgcorporate.com.